a lot of people, they're afraid of this, or they don't know it, or they're not self-aware. They're not seeing themselves the way I see them.
Everybody has a role in establishing the culture, and that can be uncomfortable for many people.
As a leader, we need to provide a safety net for everyone that we're mentoring in this way.
I kept trying to push and steer them into this leadership role, and they finally said to me, like, Josh, listen, I appreciate it. I'm glad you believe in me, but I have zero desire to be a leader like that. Let me just be a great developer.
It's my job to grow leaders, is the way I've thought about it.
High achieving, as I define it, isn't that you're the smartest in the room, but you're the one that's going to find a way. You're going to grind. You're going to win in the end.
Yeah, I care personally, and I'd love to see you grow. Entry music. Da, 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 da. It's the Bob and Josh Show.
As a leader, at some point in your path, you're going to find somebody that you think might have that spark, that might be that next great future leader. And most likely, they don't know that yet. So today's episode is, how do you recognize that? And then step 2 is, how do you guide them there, help them discover if that's a path that they want to proceed with, or maybe they want to try it out and bail out, or whatever it is. So we're going to talk through finding those gems out there, and then how you as a leader can support them in their growth and find their path potentially into leadership. So we are off, Bob. I think there was a time, I hearken back to around 2008, 2009. There may have been this really rough, punk kid that you were working with that you just said, you know what?
He does.
This guy,
you know what?
Man.
He doesn't have a clue.
That's exactly where I was going. But I'm going to try anyway. I feel like it's my job. Like, I got to do this. I don't want to do this. I want to put up with this kid. But it came to mind, just, I've started a new role, and I'm beginning to grow a team and starting to think about the culture and the leadership that we need to succeed as we grow, and realizing that a significant portion of my job is going to be hiring leaders, but also growing them. And so it's something that's front of mind. I thought it'd be really good to talk about. Yeah. Bob and I mentioned to each other, we haven't talked about this directly. We've talked around it. So again, the goal for today is for you to walk away with some concrete ways of how you can help people discover the leadership path if you think they could be really good for it. Because the thing I want to start with is, more than likely, they're not even thinking about it. They're just busy trying to do their job. Maybe they're thinking further down the road, or maybe, I think this is most frequently the situation that I see, is people don't know that they are a leader. They are just kind of doing their thing, and they don't necessarily recognize that other people around the organization aren't following them, but line up with the model that they have established as to, this is how we're doing things. So to me, the first step is checking in with somebody and understanding if they recognize the leadership, the sway that they have naturally created with how they operate or how they roll. So what are the things that you see in people that give you those thoughts, the hope that this person could really grow into a really great leader?
I mean, I want to start back like a little bit before that and say, what is the mindset as a leader? What is my mindset? And what excites me, Josh, about this topic is I think it's one of our most important jobs as a leader. So hiring is one aspect. Hiring is I'm trying to articulate my thoughts. To me, hiring is easy. It's like, you can get track records and things, you can bring people in. They don't have a cultural fit, so it can be disruptive. So there's pros and cons. But then the internal, it excites me as a leader. I think it's a responsibility to look at, like, I should be looking at my team always and just watching for leadership attributes. It's my job to grow leaders, is the way I've thought about it. Now, I don't come in with that on my agenda or anything like that. But I remember years ago when we were talking about this, Lee Eason, I don't know if you know Lee, but Lee came up to me, and so when I first met Lee Eason, and I'm just, Lee, if you listen to this, I'm going to be there's nothing bad, but so I hope you don't mind me using you as an example. But Lee was a whippersnapper architect, senior developer when I first met him, moved into architecture. I'd actually worked with his father, or I knew his dad. So here I'm like working with someone who could be my son, and but that wasn't the point. The point is, and he was really rough around the edges, and he was sort of obnoxious and full of himself. Uh, he led by technical prowess, but he was rough around the edges. And now, if you fast forward to today, and I'm not the only person that grew him, he's like a senior VP or something at Edward Jones. David Rosh, another person that I've worked with, and that has developed over time, and maybe I play a little part in that. Works for him as a leader, and I think I played a strong part. I know I played a strong part in growing Lee, and it was getting over that hurdle. I think there's the rough edges of humility, understanding that you're not always right, how to be an influencer. You may be the smartest person in the room, but being a leader doesn't mean that you have to rub people's nose in the fact that you're the smartest person in the room, et cetera, et cetera. And I took him on as a project, Josh, and I never said that to him like that, right? I saw something in him. I saw an essence of a good heart and a bright, energetic guy who was his own worst enemy in some areas, and I wanted to polish that, and I gave him opportunities. I don't know if I ever sat down with Lee. No, that's not true. I sat down and had some hard conversations with Lee, but I don't know if we talked about I'm your mentor and that. So I'm coming back. That's an example, but I think it's your job as a leader to be looking at folks and looking deep and looking broad, because Lee was not an obvious leader. He wasn't a bright light blinking leader. It was not obvious. And I think as a leader, you have to find those folks and you have to grow those folks, and you have to be determined to do that. You have to see sort of potential and then grow it. I need to shut up. I'm rambling. Go ahead, John.
No. I align with you. I've had similar experiences where I've had just amazing, technically gifted people that were a part of my team that were setting the standard, and the biggest hurdle that we had to get through as a duo working through, and as I recognized that this person could really be something special as a senior executive leader at some point in their future, was helping them understand their importance as a leader, and that their job was to influence and to understand that just because you were the best developer on a 70-person team didn't mean you were the best leader, or didn't mean you were the right person for that senior role. Because the senior role for me, again, wasn't that you're the best developer. It was that you can help develop other developers into becoming great. So me, as I think as a leader and as I'm building an organization, what I'm trying to do is, can I hire, grow, build 4 or 5 really great leaders? And then if those 4 or 5 then can do the same thing, and those 4 or 5 can do the same thing, if you multiply that effect, then you're going to be in a fantastic spot. Sounds easy, sounds great, but it's really hard, because one of the challenges of becoming a leader, especially in the technical realm that we've talked about a fair amount, is that your wins get spread out and they aren't as instant. So Bob talked about working with Lee, and there are other folks that I've worked with where it's been a multi-year campaign, effectively, for us working together and having hard discussions. The person being frustrated with me and not wanting to hear what I was having to say, but I knew it's what they needed to hear, and it knew that as they processed it and we continued to chat over the following months, that we'd get there. And that's very different than I can go and I can solve a problem quickly. I'm done. Look what I did. That's fantastic. Now it's, okay, that wasn't a great day, but I know it's going to get us closer to the end goal. And that's a hard transition to make that I know I struggled with. And then I've seen a lot of people trying to move into the leadership realm as a real challenge is coaching and helping them through that. And then often the other piece is that those high achievers are used to achieving and achieving quickly. So there's an expectation of, oh, I can step into this role and I can be great right away. No, there's no way that that can happen. So getting high achievers to be patient with themselves and allowing themselves to grow and giving themselves some grace as they recognize they're stumbling and fumbling through it and figuring it out. That's often a huge hurdle as well.
I don't know if they're always high achievers, Josh. I mean, I think I would rather couch it as potential. They have attribute, critical leadership attribute potential. So Lee was a high achiever in development, but Mary Thorne, for example, is someone I mentored, and I don't think technically she was. It wasn't a technical thing. It was more like her attributes were courageousness, the ability to take risks. Another thing that I wrote down as you were talking is coachability. Going back to that person I met in 2008 or 9 or whatever, I think that young whippersnapper was coachable, and not always coachable in the moment. That's another thing as a leader. You can't measure your impact by the in the moment discussions. It may take time. You're growing someone, so something may hit 3 months later, but you have to be sort of relentless or persistent in how you do that. So it's not always like, to me, it's not always the A player. It can be, but it's finding nuggets. I remember one of the quietest people I worked with at Eye Contact ended up at Red Hat and is in a DevOps leadership role there. And I don't know if I heard her say 10 words while I worked with her at Eye Contact. And I wasn't directly mentoring her, but what I think happened is the organizational culture served as a model for her. And then I ran into her at Red Hat, and I was like, "Whoa, right? Where did this leader come from?" And her her knowledge and her characteristics and her presence from an agile point of view were just phenomenal. So that's I think so. Coachability, maybe a bit of humility, or our job is to help them achieve some humility. I think a lot of these folks are not naturally humble. And then growth oriented, like insatiably curious and growth. Or Josh, I think you do this way. Lee is very personal growth oriented, very curious, and those are some critical attributes that I think you want to find across the board in people.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up. High achiever, for me, I think it's really important for listeners and viewers to understand this, is that high achieving, as I define it, isn't that you're the smartest in the room, you're the best developer, you're the fastest runner, you're the whatever. But you're the one that's going to find a way. You're going to grind. You're going to win in the end.
Yep.
It might not be pretty. It might not be perfect. It might not be the way. So I think of the Rocky movies. And Rocky, to me, is one of those where there's a determination, and Rocky throughout the movies learns and becomes what he needs to do to win each fight within each movie and all those things. But that's the high achiever that I look for, is someone that wins. And again, not always pretty. It could be ugly, but it doesn't matter. It's that they win, and maybe they win quiet, maybe they win loud. But at the end of the day, the thing they set out to achieve, they achieve. Some are going to get it done quicker, some are going to get it done faster, but someone that is willing and able to put their head down and drive through something, that is the high achiever that I'm looking for. So I'm really glad that you pointed it out, because the way I was phrasing it, you're absolutely right. It could have been taken from everybody watching and listening as, oh, the fastest runner or the smartest person or the best developer or the quickest tester, or who knows what that is. No, it's not that. There are a ton of people that are like that just have some natural gift that they're still trying to hone and craft. Then there are people that just win. Yeah. And that's what I'm looking for.
What I resonate with there is Angela Duckworth, I think, is the author, and she wrote a book, and she was a university researcher on grit. Grit, being gritty.
Mm-hmm.
And that's so I would agree with you that you're looking for gritty people that are going to, persevere through challenges. I'm gritty. I mean, I have, weaknesses, etc. But I'm like a dog, and I'm fairly gritty in this. And I think you're looking for folks. I think that's an attribute of good leadership, is to be gritty. So I would agree. Another thing I wanted to switch gears and talk about. So radical candor came to mind, and I think is when we're having these conversations with people, another place it starts is caring personally. So when I'm like Josh, I care, way back when, and you and I don't know what the relationship, but I cared about you.
Mm-hmm.
I had a mentoring mindset with you. You didn't ask me to be a mentor, so or whatever. But however it evolved, I looked at that, and I think before I started maybe giving you feedback, and then along the way, you and I've had some hard feedback sessions, maybe along our, experience. And I think the baseline of that is you understanding, back to radical candor, that I care personally for you. I'm not giving you hard feedback, to hurt you because I'm an ass. It's because I care a lot about you and I want you to hear this. And I think that's when you're in these relationships, when you're building leaders, one of the first steps again, is establishing that relationship where they know. And you say it. You show, I care about you. I see this in you. Like you can have that vision conversation with someone. You don't see this, but I see this. I wonder if we can develop this together. And it's not my ego. I'm not trying to throw you in, like to get you fired or for you to be a buffer for me. It's I care personally, and I'd love to see you grow. I'd love to see you grow into this role.
Yeah, I've been trying to think about the word, and I can't come up with anything more descriptive than feeling. But there's a feeling or an understanding of that intention when somebody shows they are investing in you, because that Bob is choosing. Bob has lots of things that he could focus on, lots of people that need help, lots of whatever. But Bob saw something and chose to allocate some of his time, brain, effort, and energy to helping me. So when you're on the other side of the table and you really feel that, then you also feel a fair amount of responsibility. Just like Bob feels some responsibility in helping this person, me, grow. I feel that same thing of like, oh man, okay, so Bob is investing me. Bob believes in me. I should give this a try. It's uncomfortable. I don't like it, but Bob thought enough to invest personally here, so I should probably pay attention, or listen to it, even though I don't want to hear that. That's the opposite of what I hear. There have been times where Bob has said things to me that are 180 from what I wanted to actually do. But upon contemplation and emotions being removed and all kinds of things like that, I was like, oh, damn it, Bob's right. I should probably do that and give it a shot. And time again, I had to come back to Bob and say, you were right.
And he hates that. He doesn't do it often, Metacasters, so it doesn't happen. So I don't look for it. It's not something that I track. But it's this relationship building. I want to come back to the beginning. I want to emphasize something important. It's your job. I may do it again. I apologize for repeating myself, guys. But our job as leaders is to grow leaders. To me, I don't know where it's at in the top 5. I think it's in the top 5. But succession planning, developing leaders, internal leaders, hiring as well, complementing, setting up mentoring relationships with leaders in your organization. I've had that discussion as well, is tying someone to someone else and establishing mentoring relationships so John can grow Sally or vice versa. And it's forceful. That's what it's something that I'm stepping into. It's not always comfortable for the receiver. It's not comfortable. And I think, and I want to hear how Josh responds this, but I get a little pushy about it. I mean, I'm not trying to push. Clearly, I don't want to have someone do something that they don't want to do because it's going to fail. But at the same time, a lot of people, they're afraid of this, or they don't know it, or they're not self-aware. They're not seeing themselves the way I see them. And so I'll be firm. I'll be pushy to some degree. I try to inspire them to some degree. I'm a little bit persistent in sort of, nudging that along. And I think that's part of the leader's responsibility. If I didn't have to do that, if they were like chomping at the bit, oh yeah, I'll do that. I mean, if they looked at it like flippantly, I actually think I would pull back. So I think I want someone to need a nudge.
Yeah, I want to layer on top of that something that we've said a lot is we talked about leaders, and I want to reframe that just as we did with the high achiever bit. Leaders doesn't mean somebody has people reporting to them. Bob and I will put words in your mouth, so Bob, you can correct me, but I'm pretty sure this is true. Bob and I aspire for every member of our organization to be a leader. So everybody, we spend a lot of time educating everybody that's a part of our organization that you are a leader. Maybe not by title or whatever, but you are out there, you are modeling, you are setting the standard for who we are and how we operate, and modeling the type of culture we're going to become. And it is uncomfortable for many people to come to the realization that, oh my gosh, people are watching what I'm doing. There are places they've worked at before where, whether they decided to or that was just the way things were set up, they could like live over in a corner and do their thing. And if stuff went off the rails, it was okay. It just kind of, you got figured out by someone else, and it wasn't a problem. But in the organizations that Bob and I try and build, everybody has a role in establishing the culture. And that can be uncomfortable for many people because maybe that's not anything they've ever done or anything they've ever desired to be a part of. And I've had discussions with folks where I have talked to members of my team and they have said, Josh, I'm really uncomfortable with that, and I would appreciate it if that's something we didn't do. And I, just like Bob talked about being pushy, I've had to say, I understand you're uncomfortable, but this is the norm of how we operate. So I'm going to ask you to be uncomfortable. And I know it's uncomfortable. I'm not asking you to like love it right away, but I'm asking you to give it a shot. And here's why this is important. And so at that point, what I try and do is educate them of why the discomfort is important. And usually all those people are great teammates. So when they understand, okay, so my discomfort helps the rest of the organization, helps everybody be better, be more comfortable. Okay, I'll push through it. I'll do it. I don't like it. I don't love it. But then as they do it and they get practice and they get reps, they start to understand. They see the things that we talked about. They see how they're helping others grow. And that often fuels them even more to be more comfortable being uncomfortable.
I want to switch gears a little bit and talk about, I think there's something, I feel good about our discussion, but I wanted to talk about failure. Like what happens when it doesn't work out. And so I think if for me, at least, if I'm pushing, I need to provide a safety net for some. I mean, I need to provide a safety net no matter what, right? That's actually an important point. So as a leader, we need to provide a safety net for everyone that we're mentoring in this way. And it can work out successfully to their credit. So we need to pat them on the back, but it also can, in some cases, it doesn't work out. And we may have exposed them. We may have given them a role, or we may have talked to the CEO about them as an individual contributor, and they're leading an architectural effort or whatever it is, and it's not working out. And for me, then my job is to give them a graceful exit, a respectful exit, without a reduction in pay, without a reduction in role. I mean, this is something. Not only are they incredibly valuable, not only are they a human being, but they went along with a series of experiments with me as a partner, and I just need to be very careful about how I land them back in a place where they're now comfortable. So it's not even, to me, it's not a failure. It's an epiphany. It's a realization more than it is that. But I think we have to, when we're doing this, and it doesn't, don't let this failure event or epiphany event cause you to not do this as a leader or fear of it. You just have to be able to effectively navigate that with the individual. And I've always been able to effectively navigate that. That's part of the discussion. Actually, that's part of an early discussion is what I just said, is I've got your back. Maybe that's the language in today's generations. I've got your back, right, for this thing, and an early discussion, and then let's just see what happens and run that experiment. Josh, anything to add or disagree with?
Yeah, the key framing there is an experiment, because that's what it is. Because you see something, and Bob has mentioned that he's been wrong, and I've been wrong a couple times, but that member of your team was willing to give it a shot. And so what I've found, something that encourages them to take that shot, is that you have a plan. Okay, cool. If we try this and it doesn't work, that's okay. We make this little pivot and we go down this path. So that will help people be willing to take that first leap into trying something different. I've gone down this path, and there was a front end developer that I thought was amazing and was a natural leader, and I kept trying to push and steer them into this leadership role, and they finally said to me, like, Josh, listen, I appreciate it. I'm glad you believe in me, but I have zero desire to be a leader like that. Let me just be a great developer. That's the type of leader that I want to be. And so that, again, great. Okay, cool. We'll pivot this way and we'll continue down this path. But there was some experimentation there, constant discussion in our one-on-ones. And as I would try and steer them in different directions, they finally like, okay, cool, great. But no, that's not who I want to be. So just let me go be this thing where I'm happiest, where I think I can make the most of what I do and really make a difference within the organization. And so that wasn't a big experiment, but it's a bunch of little ones along the way, and we learned. And so now we put them in their happiest place. And when you get one of those high achievers, one of those winners, one of those folks with grit in a place where they're happy doing a thing that they love, just get out of the way, and you'll be amazed at the amazing things that happen.
I'd sort of like to say one more thing, and then we can stick a fork in it. We were talking about that people don't, they can opt out. My experience, though, and that happens, my experience, though, is that a lot of people go along this path and develop, and there's some surprises. There's some like really major surprises. And I think it's a credit to me a little bit, a credit to you. You've probably seen it. So it's this combination of someone with potential, with the attributes that we're talking about, getting good leadership. This combination of a caring leader, mentoring team members, and trying to grow them to their potential. In my experience, it more often than not works out really well, and sometimes it works out phenomenally. In your case, it worked out phenomenally. So that's all I want to say is don't be afraid. And I think the hit rate, trust your instincts. The hit rate is higher than the failure rate. So with that, go ahead.
Yeah, and even if you're wrong, and even if you just empower that person with a few more leadership skills, that's still a massive win. If they try some things they learn, it's still a massive win. So, okay, sorry, I had to jump in there with that. No. Let's do the fork.
All right. So, from beautiful downtown Cary, North Carolina.
And beautiful downtown Fuquay, Varina, North Carolina.
I'm Bob Galen.
And I'm Josh Anderson.
Shake.
And bake.
Take care, y'all.